Yeah.
Yes, and there was.
They're not going to turn them off from the movie, though, so I hope you liked it.
So the producer came up to me at the end of the film and said, hey, we're going to write you into the second film. And I was, kind of just excited about what we had just done. But I thought, oh, that was cool. I never knew what that was going to really mean. And the producer asked me, he said, hey, do you have any nicknames, growing up? Do you have any nicknames or anything like that? And on my mom's side of my family, I grew up, and they all called me Kono. So I told him, I was like, yeah. He said, oh, do you have any nicknames? I said, yeah, it's Kono. And then when I read the script, it was like, oh, there's Kino. I've had that happen to me a few times with Hollywood. They take your name and then they're like, but we own the character. I'm like, but that's my name. Anyways, working on the movies from in the stunts to playing Kino, it's all been an amazing experience, and it's super cool to have all this time come by and us celebrating here with my friends and people that I've known pretty much my whole life, my whole adult life anyways, and so it's cool to share that with everybody today, so thanks for coming.
It's a great response. Thanks, Ernie, for that. And Ernie's still working really hard in all the industry, so congratulations on all you've done so far and continue to do. We'll go down the line, though. Let's go with Brian next, since we're here, and it's easier to move the microphone back and forth. Brian and Tochi, ladies and gentlemen. Our Leonardo right here. Excellent. Ooh, you got some people saying you're the favorite. That's fantastic. Now, knowing you were kind of brought in, there were a couple of actors that didn't work out for this role, but then you did get the role, and you stayed in it for all 3 movies. Now, as production went on of the 3 movies, yeah, he was one of the few who was in all 3 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, so that's pretty cool, right? Now,
There's only 2 of us. It's me.
Only 2 of us. Me and Robbie Rist, actually. But it's funny because it's interesting you mentioned that there are a couple of people. It was funny because I never heard of a thing called a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wasn't aware of the comic books. I wasn't aware that it was a cartoon. And so they put the project together, and this is the poor bastard child that no studio wanted. Ninja Turtles, they shopped it to Universal, they shopped it to 20th Century Fox, to Warner Brothers, to Disney, and nobody wanted the Ninja Turtle movie. So what they did was they went to a little-known outfit company called New Line Cinema, which was known basically for the Freddy movies, and they said, well, we'll take a chance with this little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. So they put the team together, the cast together, but I was not a part of it. And
that's just wrong.
It's just wrong. And so what happens, they had a guy for Leonardo, but they got rid of him. And then they had another guy for Leonardo, and then for some reason he kind of disappeared. And then they thought, well, maybe Brian Tochi might be, and I had just come available, so they...
woo, and there he was.
So they called my agents up, and they said, would you be interested in this thing called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies? And I go, what's that? And they said, well, it's these little turtles that are living in the sewer, and some ooze kind of comes on them, and they start to grow, and they start to become these karate kick-ass kind of guys who are kind of like surfer dudes. They love each other, and I thought, I could do that. And so they hired me, and they didn't fire me.
Totally radical, dude.
And so I get to be with my friend. I have dear friends for life now from that.
That's what it's all about, Brian. Super cool. Now, before you give the mic up, just one last thing, Fred.
We're not done with you, Brian.
As the movies progressed, it got a little more family-friendly, different. Did production change at all for you guys? After you did 1, then 2, by the time you got to 3, was it different in any way?
It was kind of. I mean, I came in kind of late, and I was the voice of Leonardo, and he didn't sound like this. You have to raise it up and go, "Hi, Cowabunga, dude!" And what was interesting is that it did change a little bit. We recorded afterwards. You know, they filmed a lot of this stuff. And then we put our voices in, we did all this stuff. The second one, though, I don't know about with Robbie and some of the other cast, but many of us, I laid down prior tracks so that they can use it for production. I don't know if you did, Robbie, at all. Yeah, and then it came back, and we worked again together, all of us, sometimes separately, sometimes together. And on the third one, I laid down tracks again. And then, you know, we worked together and such. So in a sense, it did change. Not as much as on set, when really the tone changed from kind of the darker, closer to the comics, to the second one, which is more family friendly, and to the third, which was much more lighter and kind of more on the cartoon side.
Yeah.
But people love that.
Exactly.
So that kind of changed more. But from our standpoint, it kind of was pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not too shabby. Awesome. Brian Tochi, everybody. I love the natural progression. Judith has the mic now. Judith Hoag, ladies and gentlemen.
Where would I be without you?
There are so few people in the industry as sweet as you, and you're so fun to be around. It's fun, but it's so cool. Now the Ninja Turtles movie. Oh look! I think you're probably a lot of crushes in the audience, perhaps too. I mean, that was the thing. It's kind of an awkward thing, but yeah. You know, it's the turtle life.
Well, I have to say that is something I never get tired of hearing, ever. But I'll tell you why. I know you want to ask questions. I'll be fast. Okay, so about 7 years ago, I started doing Comic-Cons. And I was kind of dragged to Comic-Cons because I saw Galaxy Quest. I know how this goes. I'm not doing that. I can be abducted. And I always thought it was like sort of the last job you did when you really weren't in the industry anymore. And I have a dear friend who was on The Walking Dead, and he was doing crazy Comic-Cons everywhere, and he was like, Judith, you are such an idiot. Like, go, meet your people. You more than anyone that I know would love this. And I went, and I met all of you guys, and you have so many brothers and sisters all over the planet who love these movies. And he was right. It was really, really lovely. What I discovered was that, you know, people come up and they'd very sheepishly say, you were my first crush. And I was like, oh, that is so sweet. And then it kept happening, and kept happening, and kept happening. Now, I didn't know this till about 6 years ago. Like, not a clue at all. Because Hollywood is kind of, it's twisted, it's lovely, but it's cockeyed and strange. And like, unless you're, I don't know, Nicole Kidman or some kind of like crazy beautiful, like you're just like ordinary, you're just like the friend, you're Marianne in Gilligan's Island or something. And so I never saw myself as like I would be the crush. And so now, all these many years later, when I hear that, I'm like, well, hello. And my little younger self is like, what? So it's very sweet.
It's an amazing thing. Well, you're admired. That's why. Absolutely. Oh man. Now in the movie we're about to see, I don't know why I'm talking like Leonardo. In the movie we're about to see, guys, we've got we've got some pretty cool things. It's obviously an action movie with a lot of fast-paced intensity, but there's a lot more to that movie as well. Judith, while you've got the microphone there, this is still about you, believe it or not. I wanted to ask you, in one of the scenes that's not as action-oriented, about the farmhouse scene. That scene, well, it gave you a chance to be a little different than the rest of the movie.
The farmhouse stuff was so much fun because, you know, we had so many action scenes. There were so many foot soldiers. There were so many stuntmen and actors and all. It was a lot. And when we got to the farm, it was kind of like a break. It was middle of the schedule, and it was just the 4 turtles. Did we have stuntmen at the farmhouse?
Yes.
Okay, we had a couple, but it wasn't like what we normally had. Which is, okay, never mind. I don't remember anything. It was a long time
We
ago.
shot 2 units. So when we were shooting stunts, we shot 2 units at the farmhouse, and I'm going to give it right back to you. But we shot 2 units. One was what we call first unit in the film business, and that's where you have the main actors and the director, and they're doing the dramatic scenes that carry the film. And second unit is a smaller group of people that work on the film with a different director, and it's usually where they go out and shoot stunts and action scenes, and then they put it all together. So at the farmhouse, we were shooting first and second unit at the same time. So while Judith was working, we might be shooting some stuff that she had nothing to do with on her day off.
Hold, please. So, I didn't realize that we were doing much second unit because I thought, so there were some stunts there. But there were days where I would go from first unit to second unit, and you have to understand, we worked Monday through Saturday. Hello, my friend. Monday through Saturday, and they were long days, and I think my longest day was 19 hours. And like Saturday night, it would be like 2 a.m. and we'd all wander onto the beach together and like drink and swim and like go, there's nothing left to me. There's like the bone marrow has been sucked out of my body. It's crazy. But the thing that was so cool about the farmhouse is it just didn't feel quite as chaotic out there. And it was the first chance that really, like, Elias, I got to do, it was Elias and April and the Turtles, well, Casey and April and the Turtles. And it was, to me, one of the sweetest parts of the movie because there was so much about the family and Splinter, and it was just the emotional turn of the movie. And I'm a girl and I love all things gushy and emotional.
I gotta say, I think that was the first time there was like sort of a welcome interaction between you and Casey's character, playful sort of character, versus the adversarial part that had been going up to the farmhouse. Then it kind of became like, okay, what's happening here?
So fun. And I'll leave it there.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Judith. Very cool. Now, one of the things she mentioned foot soldiers, stunt actors, and actors all at once. And Kenn Scott has been all of those things, which is fantastic in the movie. Now, Kenn was an amazing stuntman and an amazing actor in the movie. And I wanted to actually take it back. You're all about to see this movie on the big screen. Who has never seen this on the big screen before? A lot of people. That's it. That is fantastic. So I actually wanted to.
This is gonna be magnificent.
I know.
We have so many virgins.
This is great. It's like Rocky Horror Picture Show. We're gonna reenact the movie down here. We'll do the ninja rap dance. Well, that's the second one. But Kenn, my thing to you is they're seeing the movie for the first time. I kind of wanted to see if we could take it back to you're in North Carolina, and they're doing a movie premiere in New York, and you decide to pay your way to go to that premiere and see the movie for the first time. I wondered if you could share some of your experiences seeing that movie, because you went by yourself, right? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, basically what happened was we shot this movie in North Carolina, and it was made with companies that were based both in New York and in Hollywood, as well as London. So it was really an international production. And Hong Kong. Thank you. And then so what happened was after the movie's made, anytime you work on a movie, they have what's called a cast and crew screening. And it's not open to the public, but they invite everybody who worked on the movie to show up like a year later at some theater in New York or LA, wherever it might be, and you can come see everybody you worked with a year ago and see the final movie. Well, after we finished Ninja Turtles, they rushed it through production. It didn't take a year for them to finish that movie. Yeah. So they had, and I can't really speak to it, I assume they had a cast and crew screening in Los Angeles, but they also had one in New York. And because I worked on the movie as a stunt guy and a foot soldier and the double for Raphael, I got invited to the cast and crew screening. Well, they weren't going to fly me up there. I still lived in North Carolina, so I was young, I was fresh out of college. I paid my own ticket to fly to New York. I stayed with my grandmother who lived like 30 minutes outside of New York City. And I found my way into the city,
And I just kind of wandered in, and I was like, yeah, I'm Kenn Scott, I was in the movie, and they kind of let me in, and I wasn't with anybody. I didn't have any friends or family or anybody with me. And the lights went down, I sat in the theater just like you guys are gonna do, but I was all by myself, and I got to watch this thing that we had spent all this time working on come to life for the first time. And part of me was really self-centered. All I wanted to see was the parts I was in. Oh, where's the fight? What did I do? How did I do that? So I was I was anticipatingly waiting just to get through the movie. But then after a while, I kind of settled in and I started to watch this magic happen about things that I had never seen. When Judith was working on first unit, I was a stunt guy, I was on second unit. I never saw some of the things they were going to do. So for me, it was like seeing the whole movie for the first time from that side. And it was really such an incredible experience. I walked out of there thinking, from this moment forward, my life has changed. And it did.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That's fantastic. That's exactly what I was hoping you were going to talk about. And these guys that are seeing it on the big screen for the first time, even if you didn't have parts in the movie, I think you're going to love it just as much.
You're gonna be all right. Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robbie Rist. There he is. Cousin Oliver himself from the Brady Bunch. It's so good to have you here. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. How many appropriate ones do you have?
No, they're all appropriate.
Okay.
I chose this particular seating choice because it makes me feel like I'm a sensitive 70s singer-songwriter guy on the Mac Davis show.
That's fun. Yeah, you just need a guitar and...
Okay, Mac Davis was... never mind.
I'm going to get Dick Cavett out here in a few minutes.
And Judith, to your point, at these conventions we talk a lot about, how many times, even as adults, people are going back and watching this movie. And my response was originally sort of, I mean it. I meant it. The reason that it sticks around is that, sure, it's actually aimed at kids, but it's overall a real movie. And what I mean by that is there is this tonal shift that happens. It's a kid's fight movie up until they go to the farm. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of a Merchant Ivory film. Do you know what? And what I mean by that is, it takes on, it's like, you'd expect some English people to walk into a room, open the door, and go, "Oh, I'm sorry," and that's sort of what Merchant Ivory movies do. But one of these days, you guys are gonna get that joke. Yeah, but the thing is that it has this peaceful moment that brings us sort of into a comfortable place before that last act comes along to blow your face off. And that's real filmmaking by a real filmmaker, and I think that's part of the reason this thing is still sticking around as long as it has.
I agree with that. Give it up for that. I agree. The wonderful thing about Robbie is you don't have to actually ask him any questions whatsoever, and he'll launch into his story. So
Can we talk about the chairs some more?
If you, it's all about the seating, right? What I was gonna ask you was a couple of things. One was, what was your favorite Michelangelo moment? But the other was, what has it meant to you all these years? And I think you kind of explained that with your passion for how the movie was filmed a minute ago. I just think that's fantastic.
Well, I've seen it a bunch of times because of these, right?
Yeah.
And these screenings. And, the first time I basically did what Kenn did. I went, well, what is my thing all about? And you go through, because when you work on it, you're going to, you want to make sure you don't suck. So, and then upon subsequent viewings at conventions and stuff, I started kind of being able to see it, and that brings me to what I've gleaned from doing this is, I said this a bunch of times today, the movie is over 30 years old. I don't have to promote it anymore. What it's going to do, it's doing, and will continue to do, and that's fine. So why am I here? I'm here because now this movie is a shared experience for all of us. It's not just something you've seen a jillion times. We've now seen it a jillion times, to the point that it is just something that we can watch and not necessarily attach our own egos to it. And it has shown me that, it showed me the importance of being a part of something much larger than me.
I think that's fantastic, Robbie, and that's why it shows your passion continues to shine through. Now, as everyone knows, all good heroes need good villains, too. And in this case, I would like to introduce Mr. Francois.
Okay, first of all, I think I walked into the wrong theater because
Okay.
I wasn't in this movie.
Okay.
I've never seen it, and I don't know any of these people.
Okay. All truth out there. He is in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, as you all probably know, the sequel to this amazing film, as the Shredder himself. And I wanted to ask you specifically, you play a villain, and you've played darker, deep characters and some other things as well. And I wonder, for Turtles, but for anything in general, what is kind of the inspirations or some of the actors or performers that you draw on that bring your different characters to life, or your interpretation of Shredder for that matter?
For some reason, I do play a lot of villains. I'm not sure why. But because, we never think of ourselves as villains. We're doing the right thing. We're not, you guys are, yeah, of course. Because if you sit there thinking, oh, I'm the bad guy and I got to do bad things, then forget it. It never works. There's got to be a reason for you to do stuff, not just to be bad. So that's what I think about when I play. Man, a lot of villains. And people always ask me, hey man, it must be so much fun doing all those bad things and being getting to do all those things. And I'm like, well, gee, because I thought about it sometimes. I thought, gee, is it really fun to do bad things? I don't think so.
Especially on screen, I would think.
Oh, no. There are a lot of times when the stuff that I have to do, I go, man, this doesn't feel good at all. I go home and I'm like, oh my God, I can't, it's so, I gotta be a nice guy once in a while. But, yeah, well, I don't know.
Some of the best villains are some of the nicest people in real life, though. So it just means you can play it well. Yeah.
Okay.
Think about it.
All right, I'll take that.
There you go. So
That's just one thing about doing cons is like Judith. Even later, I only started doing them for about the last 3 years, maybe.
New to the convention world.
Yeah, I'm kind of new, but I was very apprehensive at first because I didn't know anything about it. I thought, oh man, I don't want to be sitting at the table, crickets chirping as there's nobody coming up to you. But after all this time, the greatest thing is how happy the fans are to get to meet the characters that they've loved for so long, and you can't describe the feeling. And Judith gets I've always had a crush on you.
Woo! See, even on the panel.
I get well, she gets that, but I get, oh my God, you scared the bleep out of me when I was a kid.
Quite an honor, I would think. Oh my God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to see was the highest grossing independent film of all time at its time.